Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about one of the most terrifying silent killers, stroke. According to the World Health Organization, over 15 million people suffer a stroke each year worldwide. In the United States alone, nearly 800,000 cases occur annually. But what's truly alarming isn't the number. It's the fact that many of these strokes could have been prevented if people had recognized the early warning signs their bodies were sending. No loud alarms, no clear warnings, just subtle signals. Easy to ignore, but potentially life-saving. Don't take your eyes off this video, because noticing just one early sign might save you or a loved one from paralysis, memory loss, or worse. This isn't a scare tactic. This is life-saving information. Let's get started.
If you're over 60 and taking a certain over-the-counter pill for joint pain, headaches, or even sleep, you might want to sit down for this. A few months ago, I was reviewing brain scans of a 72-year-old woman named Judith. She was sharp, cheerful, walked every morning, and never smoked a day in her life. But then, she started having tiny memory lapses. She'd forget where she parked her car. She started mixing up names. And one morning, she felt a brief wave of dizziness, followed by blurry vision. It passed in 30 seconds. She didn't think much of it. Neither did her daughter. But as a neurologist, those are red flags I never ignore. We ran tests. What we found stunned me. Multiple tiny infarcts in her brain, what we call mini strokes. They often go unnoticed until they stack up like dominoes. What shocked me most wasn't the strokes. It was the cause. Judith had been taking an over-the-counter antihistamine to help her sleep. Just one little pill every night. Something many older adults take without a second thought. Diphenhydramine. You might know it as Benadryl. This common medication, marketed for allergies and sleep, has been linked in recent studies to increased risk of cognitive decline and cerebrovascular events, especially in older adults. That means memory problems, confusion, and yes, even mini strokes. I know this may be difficult to hear, but you deserve to know the truth, because when you know better, you can do better. Let's talk about what these pills actually do. Diphenhydramine belongs to a group of medications called anticholinergics. That's a long word, but here's the simple version. These drugs block a brain chemical called acetylcholine. You need acetylcholine for memory attention and even muscle control. When you block too much of it, especially over time, the effects can build up. In fact, a long-term study by the University of Washington found that older adults who used anticholinergic medications daily for 3 years or more had a significantly higher risk of developing dementia. That's not fear-mongering, that's science. So why are these pills still on the shelves? Why are they still being recommended to people like Judith? Because they work, at least in the short term. They make you drowsy, they help with allergies, they calm the itching. And for younger folks, that might be okay once in a while. But for older brains, which are more sensitive to chemical changes, the risk is much higher. I've seen it in my own patients. Subtle changes that sneak in slowly, slower reaction times, foggy thinking, shuffling gait. The family thinks it's just normal aging, but often it's not. One gentleman I treated, 68 years old, started tripping on his rug. His balance had declined. We found tiny strokes on his MRI. He'd been using a PM pain reliever with diphenhydramine every night. This is more common than people realize. According to a survey by the National Institute on Aging, nearly 40% of seniors in the U.S. use over-the-counter sleep aids at least once a week. Many don't read the ingredients. Many don't know about the risks. If any of this sounds familiar, I want you to hear this clearly: you are not to blame. These products are not labeled with bright warning signs for seniors. Most pharmacies don't flag them, but you have the power to make better choices moving forward. There are safer alternatives for sleep, for allergies, for discomfort, and we'll talk about those in a moment. But for now, here's what I want you to do. Take a moment and check your medicine cabinet. Look at any PM-labeled pills, allergy medications, or sleep aids. If you see diphenhydramine, chlorpheniramine, or anything ending in amine, it might be an anticholinergic. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about alternatives. You're not being difficult. You're protecting your brain. And if you've been using these medications, long-term talk with your healthcare provider before stopping suddenly. Some people may need to taper. You might be wondering, is the damage already done? In many cases, no. The brain has incredible plasticity. When we remove the cause and support the healing process through better sleep circulation, nutrition, and light movement, the brain can recover. So don't feel discouraged. This is about knowledge, not fear. Prevention, not panic. If you found this message helpful so far, please consider subscribing to this channel. Every week I share trustworthy health tips, especially for seniors, and your voice matters here. If you've ever used a sleep aid or allergy pill, let me know in the comments. Type 1 if you have, or 0 if you haven't. Your feedback helps me shape future videos that truly serve you. You deserve to feel clear, steady, and in control of your health. And it starts with knowledge like this. I want to tell you about something that's been quietly affecting millions of older adults, yet rarely gets talked about during a typical doctor's visit. When someone hears the word stroke, they usually imagine a dramatic event, slurred speech, facial drooping, or sudden paralysis. And yes, those are symptoms of a major stroke. But what about the tiny silent strokes that leave no immediate trace, yet slowly chip away at your brain's health? They're called transient ischemic attacks, or TIAs. You might have heard the term mini-stroke before. These are episodes where the blood flow to part of your brain is briefly blocked, usually for just a few minutes. Then it returns to normal. The symptoms might disappear before you even realize what's happening. But here's the hidden danger: every mini-stroke leaves behind a trace. And over time, those traces add up. Think of your brain like a network of roads. A mini-stroke is like a temporary roadblock. Once is manageable. But imagine dozens of these blockages over a few years. Traffic slows, detours pile up, and confusion sets in. That's exactly what happens inside your brain's communication network. So how can you know if this is happening to you? The tricky part is the symptoms are often subtle. A brief moment of blurred vision, feeling lightheaded when standing up, trouble remembering a word you've used your whole life, even walking with a slightly unsteady step. Have you ever walked into a room and forgotten why you went there? That can be normal. But if it happens frequently, or you're losing track of time names or even where you are, it's worth paying attention. I once had a patient, Mr. Kenner, who was 74 and still golfing twice a week. His wife brought him in because he'd started calling their granddaughter sweetheart instead of her name, and he'd never done that before. It was small, but out of character. We did a scan, and sure enough, there were signs of several small infarcts, signs of previous TIAs he hadn't even noticed. No pain, no drama, just quiet changes in the brain. And what triggered them? His blood pressure had spiked overnight several times, but the cause wasn't his heart. It was a reaction to his nighttime medication, another one containing diphenhydramine. When I showed him the scan, he sat back and said, "All that from a little pink pill." Yes, sometimes all it takes is a small trigger repeated over time. Many of the pills marketed for older adults, whether for sleep pain or even cold relief, contain ingredients that narrow blood vessels or interfere with neurotransmitters. Over time, this affects your brain's ability to regulate blood flow. That's a recipe for trouble. And while mini-strokes don't always leave physical disabilities, they absolutely raise your risk for larger strokes later. According to the American Stroke Association, about 1 in 3 people who experience a TIA will go on to have a more severe stroke within a year. But it's not just medication. Let's talk about some of the other triggers of mini-strokes, ones that might be happening in your everyday life. Dehydration. A dry brain is a tired brain. And when you're dehydrated, your blood thickens slightly, making it harder to flow freely through narrowed arteries. Long periods of inactivity. Sitting for long stretches, especially if you cross your legs or slouch, can reduce circulation to the brain. Sudden changes in posture. Ever stood up too quickly and felt dizzy? That can be a brief dip in blood pressure, and if your arteries are already narrowed, it can starve parts of the brain for a few seconds. Heavy meals at night. When you eat a large meal late in the evening, your body diverts blood to the digestive system, and your brain might not get the flow it needs during sleep. That's when mini-strokes can happen silently. And stress, the chronic hidden kind, raises your blood pressure, tightens your arteries, and puts your heart on edge. Even if you don't feel anxious, your body might be telling a different story. The good news. Every one of these risks can be managed, and that's what we'll focus on next. You don't need to overhaul your whole life to reduce your stroke risk. You just need to understand your body's signals, create a few new habits, and stay consistent with them. In my practice, I've seen 80-year-olds regain their mental sharpness simply by adjusting 3 things: their medications, their sleep routine, and their morning habits. And I'm going to walk you through all of that step by step. Because the truth is, your brain doesn't stop growing or healing in your 60s, 70s, or even your 80s. It just needs the right support. Have you ever felt unsteady when getting out of bed, or experienced a wave of forgetfulness that didn't feel like you? Tell me in the comments. You're not alone, and sharing your story might help someone else recognize the signs in themselves. Let's begin where every good day starts: the morning. What you do in the first hour after waking up can set the tone for your brain and body for the rest of the day. That's especially true if you're over 60. At this stage of life, your circulation, metabolism, and nervous system need a little more time and care to get moving. I want to share some simple morning habits that can make a big difference. These aren't difficult, expensive, or time-consuming. In fact, some of the most effective ones only take a few minutes. But together, they can significantly reduce your risk of stroke, sharpen your memory, and improve your overall balance and confidence. Let's start with something most people skip without realizing it: waking up slowly. Many seniors feel dizzy or lightheaded when they first stand up, especially if they rise too quickly. This can be a sign of something called orthostatic hypotension, a sudden drop in blood pressure when you change positions. It's common, but it can also be dangerous if you lose balance or don't allow your body time to adjust. So tomorrow morning, try this the moment you wake up. Sit on the edge of the bed. Let your legs dangle. Take 3 to 4 deep breaths. Then gently stand up, holding on to something sturdy if needed. It may sound small, but doing this every day can help regulate your blood pressure and reduce the risk of a fainting spell or mini stroke. Have you ever experienced that morning dizziness? If so, you're not alone. And this 1-minute pause can truly help. Next, drink a glass of room temperature water before coffee, before breakfast, before anything else. After a night of sleep, your body is mildly dehydrated. Even mild dehydration can make your blood thicker and your circulation slower, which is exactly what we don't want. A glass of water first thing in the morning helps wake up your kidneys, thin your blood, and rehydrate your brain. In fact, researchers at the Mayo Clinic have found that staying well hydrated can improve brain function and help prevent sudden dips in blood pressure, which lowers your stroke risk over time. If plain water feels boring, add a few slices of cucumber or lemon. Just stay away from sugary fruit juices. They can spike blood sugar and lead to inflammation. Another essential habit: stretching your feet. This might surprise you, but a Japanese neurologist named Professor Kei Tanaka has studied blood flow in seniors and found that massaging or stretching the soles of your feet every morning can boost circulation to the lower limbs and even improve balance and reflex speed. The reason your feet contain thousands of nerve endings and tiny blood vessels. When you gently stretch or massage them, even just rolling a tennis ball under each foot for 30 seconds, it sends signals to your brain saying, "Time to wake up." One of my patients, Elaine, told me she used to feel stiff and shaky when she got out of bed. After a week of doing gentle foot stretches and ankle rolls while still in bed, she told me, "Doctor, I walk into the kitchen like a ballerina now." That made me smile because it's true. These things work. Have you ever tried foot massage or stretching in the morning? It may feel silly at first, but the results speak for themselves. Let's talk about breathing. Not just shallow chest breathing, I mean intentional deep belly breathing. When you wake up, place your hand on your belly. Breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for 2, then exhale slowly for 6. Do this 3 times. This calms your nervous system, lowers cortisol, your stress hormone, and improves oxygen delivery to the brain. Studies from Harvard Medical School show that seniors who practice morning breathing exercises have better focus, lower anxiety, and even improve blood pressure. If you find yourself rushing in the morning or feeling overwhelmed, this habit might be your anchor. And then perhaps most importantly, step outside. Even just 5 minutes of natural morning light can reset your body's internal clock. It tells your brain it's time to be alert. This helps regulate melatonin production later, which improves your sleep at night. Morning light also stimulates serotonin, your natural feel-good chemical. That's why people who get early sunlight tend to feel calmer and clearer throughout the day. If possible, take a short walk. If not, just open the curtains wide, sit near a window, or step onto your porch or balcony. I once treated a retired teacher named Gloria. She started walking her dog each morning for just 10 minutes, and within 2 weeks her sleep improved, her mood lifted, and she told me she felt 10 years younger. Never underestimate the power of small changes. Have you noticed a difference in your energy or focus when you get morning sun? I'd love to hear your experience. The last habit I want to share here might surprise you. It's reading aloud. Just a paragraph or two from a book, a newspaper, or even a recipe. Why? Because speaking activates different areas of the brain than silent reading. It improves memory retention, strengthens facial muscles, and boosts language processing, all protective factors for your brain health. If you live with a spouse, take turns reading to each other. If you live alone, try reading aloud to a pet, or even just to yourself. It's a wonderful mental workout, and it only takes a minute. And if you do crossword puzzles, Sudoku, or word games in the morning, even better, you're already giving your brain a gift. Which of these habits do you already practice, and which one do you think you'll try tomorrow? Remember, you don't have to do all of them at once. Even adopting just one or two can make a difference over time. Your brain is capable of more than you think, and these little routines are how we keep it healthy, strong, and awake. I want to bring you inside a real story, one that still sticks with me years later. George was 69 when I first met him. A retired postmaster, calm and steady with a quiet sense of humor. He'd come in for a checkup after experiencing a little blip, as he called it. His wife said he'd paused mid-sentence during breakfast, stared off into the distance, then snapped back and said, "What was I saying?" It lasted all of 10 seconds. No slurred speech, no weakness. Just that brief, strange moment. George brushed it off, but his wife didn't. That's what brought them in. We ran some scans, and I'll never forget sitting down with him to go over the results. There were several tiny white spots on the image-silent infarcts, mini-strokes. And the shocking part, this wasn't the first time. He'd likely had at least 5 in the past 2 years without even knowing. His eyes widened. 5, he whispered. But I've never felt a thing. That's the thing. These episodes can be completely painless, but they leave behind a mark. And over time, those marks add up, slowly dulling the brain's ability to process, store, and recall information. George wasn't imagining things when he forgot a word or got lost driving home once. His brain was telling him something. What shocked me most wasn't that he'd had multiple TIAs. It was what he'd been taking daily, a common over-the-counter sleep aid with diphenhydramine, the same antihistamine found in Benadryl. He thought it was safe. After all, it sold without a prescription. He took 1 pill every night for the past 3 years to help him sleep. But diphenhydramine can cause drowsiness, confusion, and in older adults, significant blood pressure changes at night. When your blood pressure drops too low while you sleep, it can reduce blood flow to the brain. That's when silent strokes can occur. A study from Johns Hopkins found that seniors who regularly use anticholinergic drugs like diphenhydramine have a higher risk of cognitive decline and stroke-like events. And the risk increases with the duration of use. George was stunned. I thought I was just helping myself sleep. And he wasn't alone. According to recent surveys, nearly 1 in 4 older adults regularly takes medication that can raise their stroke risk without even realizing it, whether for sleep allergies, anxiety, or even bladder issues. Many of these medications interfere with the brain's natural chemical balance or alter blood pressure overnight, especially dangerous for brains already vulnerable to poor circulation. We worked with George to slowly taper off the medication. I recommended a melatonin supplement instead, a low dose taken 90 minutes before bedtime, along with a new wind-down routine involving stretching, warm tea, and guided breathing. 3 months later, he returned for a follow-up. His wife said he was sharper. He hadn't had any more blips. And more importantly, he was sleeping better and naturally. His case isn't rare. I see it again and again, seniors unknowingly increasing their stroke risk through common pills, daily routines, or habits that seem harmless on the surface. So how can you protect yourself? Start by reading your labels. If you see the word diphenhydramine, chlorpheniramine, or hydroxyzine, be cautious, especially if you're over 60. These medications fall into a category that can interfere with brain signaling and blood flow. Talk to your doctor before continuing long-term use. Avoid combining multiple sedatives. If you take a sleep aid and also have a glass of wine at night or a muscle relaxant, your blood pressure may drop too low while you sleep. That silent dip is dangerous. Monitor your blood pressure at home, especially in the early morning and before bed. A digital wrist cuff is fine, but the upper arm cuffs tend to be more accurate. Keep a log, it helps you catch patterns that your doctor might miss. Be mindful of nighttime urination medications, some bladder control pills. Especially those used for overactive bladder also have anticholinergic effects. If you've noticed confusion or fogginess in the morning, this might be why. And remember, your brain loves stability. Big swings in blood pressure, sugar, or hydration levels are what cause problems. That's why simple routines, steady habits, and gentle movements can go such a long way. Another helpful change. Elevate your head slightly while sleeping. Not a huge wedge, just a few inches. This can help maintain steady blood flow to the brain, especially in people who are prone to nighttime dips in pressure. You might be thinking, that's a lot to keep track of. But it really isn't. It's about becoming aware of how your body responds and making changes one at a time. I always tell my patients, your brain is like a garden. You don't have to overhaul the whole thing, just pull a few weeds and water the roots. Slowly things bloom. And I want to hear from you. Have you ever taken sleep or allergy meds regularly? How did they make you feel the next day? Share in the comments because your experience might help someone else avoid a future stroke. Let's take a closer look at what's happening inside your body, the science behind these mini strokes, and why some pills, especially the ones that help you sleep or calm anxiety, might do more harm than good as we age. When people hear the word stroke, they often imagine something dramatic, slurred speech, drooping, face-collapsed body. But not all strokes look like that. Some are so quiet, you might not even notice them. They're called transient ischemic attacks, or TIAs, also known as mini-strokes. They occur when a small blood clot or piece of plaque temporarily blocks blood flow in the brain. It might only last a few seconds or minutes, but even in that short time, brain cells are starved of oxygen. That's where damage begins. Over time, repeated mini-strokes can lead to something called vascular dementia, a form of cognitive decline caused by poor circulation in the brain. Unlike Alzheimer's, which often affects memory, first vascular dementia shows up as slow thinking, confusion, difficulty planning or focusing. And what many people don't know is that certain medications, especially those with anticholinergic properties, can quietly raise the risk. Let me explain. In simple terms, anticholinergic drugs block a chemical messenger in the brain called acetylcholine. This neurotransmitter plays a huge role in memory, attention, and muscle coordination. As we get older, our natural levels of acetylcholine already decline. When you add a drug that blocks it even more, it's like turning down the volume on your brain's communication system. Now pair that with the fact that many of these drugs also lower blood pressure, slow your heart rate, or make you sleepy at the wrong time, and you've got a perfect storm. The American Geriatric Society even publishes a list, the Beers criteria, which names medications that older adults should avoid unless absolutely necessary. Diphenhydramine, doxylamine, and many bladder control drugs are right at the top. A recent study by the University of Washington tracked 3,500 adults over 7 years and found that those who used anticholinergic medications daily were more likely to develop dementia even after adjusting for age, lifestyle, and existing health issues. It's not about fear. It's about knowledge. These aren't bad medications. They were designed to help. But in older adults, the balance shifts. Your liver processes drugs more slowly. Your kidneys clear them more gently. What felt fine in your 40s can cause confusion or harm in your 70s. Another key issue: sleep medication and nighttime blood pressure dips. Your brain depends on a steady rhythmic flow of blood, especially while you sleep. That's when it clears out toxins and performs repair. If blood pressure drops too low overnight, a phenomenon called nocturnal hypotension, your brain doesn't get what it needs. Some sleep aids, especially those that act as tranquilizers or sedatives, don't just make you sleepy. They slow down your nervous system, relax blood vessels, and in turn reduce circulation to the brain. For some seniors, this results in waking up groggy. But for others, it quietly raises the risk of stroke-like events that go unnoticed until memory or coordination begins to decline. That's why many neurologists, myself included now, advocate for non-drug sleep strategies first. Things like guided relaxation magnesium supplements, warm herbal teas, and sleep hygiene changes. Because sleep isn't just about falling asleep, it's about what your brain is doing while you rest. And here's something else to think about the brain-heart connection. The same risk factors that affect your heart, like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and diabetes, also affect your brain. And many medications used to treat those conditions can interact with others, especially if they cause dehydration or electrolyte imbalances. I had a patient named Ruth, 72 years old, who was taking medication for her bladder anxiety and insomnia. She came in saying, "I just feel foggy, like I'm always waking up from a dream." We reviewed her medications and found she was on 3 anticholinergic drugs, each prescribed by a different doctor, unaware of the full picture. Over time, that combination was impairing her brain's ability to stay sharp. We worked with her care team to simplify her medications. She started doing morning walks, added magnesium to her routine, and began limiting fluids at night to help with bladder control naturally. Within a few weeks, she reported feeling awake again. Her words, "That's the power of a small informed change." So what can you do today? Keep a medication list. Not just the names, include why you take them, who prescribed them, and how they make you feel. Bring that list to every doctor's visit. If you ever feel dizzy, confused, or off, speak up. These are not small complaints. They're signs your brain is sending you. Ask questions, especially if you've been on a medication for a long time. Is this still necessary? Are there alternatives? Could this be affecting my brain? Track your memory. If you notice it's harder to find words, follow directions, or keep up with conversations, don't dismiss it. Write it down. Talk to your doctor. And most importantly, stay curious about your own body. You're not just getting older. You're learning how to support a wiser, more experienced version of yourself. Your brain is still listening, still adapting, still capable of healing if we give it what it needs. Which of these insights feels most relevant to you right now? I'd love to know, because sharing your experience helps others feel less alone. Let's shift into something deeply practical. Now, the things you can actually do every morning to protect your brain, support your circulation, and reduce your risk of mini strokes. Because no matter what your age, it's never too late to create a better rhythm for your body. And your mornings. They set the tone for the entire day. I'll walk you through a few powerful morning habits, not complicated ones. Simple, gentle changes that help your brain stay sharp, your blood flowing smoothly, and your energy more consistent. First, let's talk about getting out of bed slowly. If you've ever felt dizzy when standing up in the morning, that's your body telling you it needs more time. Blood pressure drops overnight. When you jump out of bed too fast, the blood hasn't caught up to your brain yet. And that sudden drop in pressure, it's one of the most common causes of fainting imbalance, or in more serious cases, mini strokes. Here's what I recommend. Before you rise, sit up slowly. Dangle your legs over the edge. Take 3 deep breaths, then gently stand. This one habit, taking 30 extra seconds, can literally protect your brain from a silent stroke. Have you ever noticed a head rush in the morning? You're not alone. It happens more often after age 60, but the fix is simple. The next habit: hydrate before your coffee. A tall glass of room temperature water rehydrates your blood, helps your kidneys function, and gets your circulation moving. After 7 or 8 hours of sleep, your body is slightly dehydrated, even if you don't feel thirsty. And mild dehydration thickens the blood, increasing the risk of clots. I had a patient, Carol, who was waking up with headaches most mornings. We ruled out sleep apnea medication side effects and even did a scan. The root cause: dehydration. She started drinking a glass of water first thing every morning, and the headaches stopped within 2 weeks. Try it yourself. Add a slice of lemon or cucumber if you like. Then wait 15 to 30 minutes before drinking anything with caffeine. Speaking of caffeine, that brings us to the third habit. Eat something before or with your coffee. Coffee can cause a sudden spike in adrenaline, especially on an empty stomach. In some people, this triggers a temporary narrowing of blood vessels in the brain, not ideal for those already at risk for stroke. Even a small bite, a banana, a boiled egg, a slice of whole grain toast gives your body the fuel it needs to absorb caffeine more steadily. Plus, pairing coffee with protein and fiber helps stabilize your blood sugar, which supports clearer thinking throughout the morning. Here's a question. What's the first thing you usually eat after waking up? Let me know in the comments. Your choices might inspire someone else. Let's move into the fourth habit, stretching or gentle movement within the first hour. I'm not talking about full-on exercise. Just 5 minutes of gentle movement, reaching up, rolling your shoulders, stretching your calves, rotating your ankles. When you move first thing in the morning, you encourage blood flow through the tiny vessels in your legs, arms, and most importantly, your brain. Harvard researchers found that just a few minutes of light activity each morning significantly improves cerebral circulation in older adults. I have a favorite routine I recommend. While brushing your teeth, do 10 slow toe raises, standing tall, lifting your heels off the ground. This simple move activates your calves, which act like a pump for your blood flow. And while you're at it, smile in the mirror. You're doing something that protects your health that's worth celebrating. The fifth habit might surprise you. Check in with your memory. Each morning after waking, ask yourself, what day is it? What's one thing I'm looking forward to today? These gentle mental check-ins help your brain stay engaged. They also create a daily pattern of self-awareness that becomes especially useful if anything ever feels off. I had a patient named Dennis who did this every morning. One day he paused. He couldn't remember what day it was or what he had planned. That moment of confusion lasted a minute, and he knew it wasn't normal. He came in and scans showed he'd experienced a small TIA overnight. Because he noticed it early, we were able to act, adjust medications, improve his circulation, and prevent a bigger event. Simple awareness can be life-saving. Habit 6. Protect your blood vessels with your breakfast. What you eat in the morning affects your blood flow all day long. A breakfast high in sugar or processed carbs like sugary cereal, white bread, or pastries causes a blood sugar spike followed by a crash. That crash can trigger inflammation and affect circulation in the brain. Instead, try a breakfast rich in fiber, healthy fats, and some protein. Think oatmeal with walnuts and berries, whole grain toast with avocado, a boiled egg with a slice of tomato and cucumber. If you like smoothies, add spinach or flax seeds. Both are excellent for vascular health. And berries, blueberries in particular, are known to support brain blood flow and memory, according to studies from the University of Exeter. Here's a prompt. What's one breakfast swap you've made that's helped you feel better in the morning? Finally, habit 7. Sunlight on your skin, light in your eyes. Natural light, even just 10 minutes on your porch or near a bright window, helps regulate your internal clock, reduce cortisol, and support your brain's sleep-wake cycle. This, in turn, improves sleep quality, which lowers your stroke risk. It also stimulates vitamin D production, which plays a critical role in vascular health, especially in older adults. Low levels of vitamin D have been linked to higher stroke risk in several studies, including one from the American Heart Association. So go outside, breathe in, feel the warmth on your skin. Let it remind you that your health is still yours to shape. Even one of these habits can create a ripple effect. You don't need to change everything overnight. Choose one. Stick with it for 2 weeks. Then come back and tell me how you feel. Which of these morning habits sounds most doable to you? I'd love to hear in the comments. We've covered a lot, from warnings and symptoms to the science to real-life stories and even practical morning habits. But I want to leave you with something even more powerful, a reminder of your own strength. Because here's what I've seen again and again in my years as a neurologist. The seniors who thrive are not always the ones with the perfect genes or the most money or even the best medical care. They are the ones who stay curious, consistent, and connected to their bodies. They pay attention. They make small, meaningful changes. They care deeply about the lives they still have ahead of them. And that's you. You've made it through decades of challenges. You've adapted to changes in your body, your family, your world. That ability to change, to grow, never leaves you. And your brain, no matter your age, still responds to the love and care you give it. So if you've been feeling anxious about your memory or unsure whether you're doing enough for your health, I want you to take a deep breath right now. You are already doing something powerful. You're learning, you're showing up, you're taking action. Mini strokes, those tiny interruptions in the brain's blood flow, can seem frightening. And yes, they are serious. But they are also an opportunity, a signal, a chance to reset before something larger happens. I once treated a woman named Janet, 72 years old, vibrant, funny, full of stories. She came to me after a TIA left her with a slightly droopy smile and a bit of slurred speech. She was terrified. "Is this it?" she asked me. "Is my mind going to slip away now?" But here's what happened. She made a commitment: daily walks, lower sodium meals, better sleep, and meditation each morning. 3 months later, her blood pressure was lower. Her speech was fully back. Her energy returned. And she said something I'll never forget. "I thought this stroke was the beginning of the end." But it turned out to be the beginning of a new version of me. That's what I want for you. Your health journey is not behind you, it's unfolding right now. And whether you've been on medications for years or just recently noticed symptoms, you still have the power to protect your brain, improve your circulation, and live with vitality. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to do everything at once. You just need to start. One morning habit, one more glass of water, one slower rise from bed, one nourishing breakfast, one check-in with your thoughts. And from there, momentum builds. And here's the truth I hope you carry with you after this video. Health after 60 isn't just about keeping your heart beating, it's about keeping your spirit calm. It's about waking up and saying, "This is still my life. I still get to choose how I show up for it." So love your body, not because you fear illness, but because it's been loyal to you all these years. Your legs have carried you. Your brain has remembered so many beautiful things. Your heart has kept beating every single day, even when life was hard. You deserve to feel sharp, steady, and strong. You deserve mornings that don't start with confusion or dizziness or fear. You deserve afternoons filled with purpose and nights of deep, peaceful rest. So let this be the moment. Choose one new habit. Write it down. Tell someone about it. Make it part of your morning or your evening or whenever feels right. And if this message has spoken to you, please take a moment to subscribe. Turn on the little bell icon so you never miss a video. I create these messages because I care about you, because I believe that aging can be full of strength, not decline. If you learned something today, leave a comment below. Share what spoke to you. Ask your questions. Your voice helps others, and I read every single comment. Remember this: even small steps lead to big protection. Let's keep walking this path together toward clarity, strength, and a brain that keeps on working for you year after year.